What's up, everybody? Shane here. Wanted to come to you with this training that I think can help a lot of people because I know it helped me and it works. First off, disclaimer, I did not come up with this. This was something that was presented to me through one of my mentors that helped me out in a very hard time in one of my businesses, hard time in my life, period. A lot of stuff going on. I won't bore you with all the personal stuff. But I was literally in a position where I thought at a point in time that I was going to lose a business that I had, like, blood, sweat, and tears, poured everything into, and I thought it was all going to come to an end. Now, a little backstory, the past couple of days I was laid up. I had the flu. It wasn't COVID, so thank God, but I had the flu, and I just got to thinking about, all the different things that I have done in the past, models, methods, things that I have been taught, things that worked, things that didn't work. And I have to say that this is probably one, if not the one thing that carries through time in and time again. And it can literally be used at any point in your business. It literally can. For instance, I was at a point where my business was not paying the bills. Like it was at a point where it was sink or swim. So I had to do something. I had to find people who were far smarter than me that could teach me the skills that I needed so that my business could grow. And let me tell you, it was a very hard thing to do, like I know it is for most of you. It can be one of those situations that you just second guess, third guess, fourth guess until you take no action at all. But believe me, I had to learn the hard way. I was almost at my very end, and I was spending money that I didn't have on a hope and a prayer that what I was being told was going to work. And a lot of times it's like that. Business is like that. You have to go out on faith a lot of time and trust in something to work. And you have to trust others to teach you that something is going to work, right? Because we have no frame of reference. We really don't. Because the honest truth is we don't know what we don't know. And that's okay. Until we know it, and then we sit back and we go, oh, if I would have only thought about this, right? We've all been there. I totally get it. But this one in particular has stayed with me forever. And I have taught it to clients myself. I have used it multiple times. It's still a part of the arsenal. It's still a part of the toolkit. But it's basically how you can go about acquiring clients by getting them to actually pay for the acquisition. Yeah, I know. When I was told, I was like, okay, I totally don't get that. So here's the story. This is how it worked with me. Over 8 years ago, I was needing to increase my business's revenue like now. It had to happen. I was at my wit's end. So I did a lot of research. I shut myself in my office, over the weekends, the whole 9 yards, just researching, talking to people, talking to other gym owners, because I was a gym owner at the time, and talking to other people in the space about what was the best thing to do. And I kept getting pointed back to the same company, the same mentorship. So I looked into it, and I sat down with my trust tree, so to speak, that were still involved with me in the business. And I was like, hey guys, I've done my research. This is the best thing going that I am aware of based on my research and the people that I've talked to exhaustively. This is where we're going, sink or swim. And you know what? I was blessed to have a team that was like, okay, let's go. And I did. It wasn't cheap. And anything worth doing, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to be. You literally pay for what you get for. I spent money to get this thing started that I didn't have. And I knew that spending that money was going to cause one of two things. a change in direction of where my business went, or I was literally going to be holding my hand on my ass at the end of the month. And that was it. And the end of the month was coming literally in about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3, but 2.5 weeks. So I did. I signed up. I fell underneath the mentorship of a group of people that turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences of my entrepreneurial life. And I locked myself away for 3 days over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I had one person that was designated to work with me from them, and they worked with me extensively over those 3 days, helping me get everything set up that I needed to set up, and to make me understand and help teach me what I needed to know to make this work, because I was dealing with things that I just hadn't been exposed to yet. And it was interesting because I was a non-believer. I was like, there's no way that I am going to make the money that I'm being told I'm going to make, right? I was still skeptical. Even though I had spent the money and I bought in, I was still skeptical. But I was like, okay, let's go with it and let's just see what happens. So, all the hard work was done, got everything set up, and, the whole thing revolved around this acquisition system. And I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of how it worked for me in this video, but suffice it to say that I was presented with an idea, I was told how much to charge for it, and I was told to prepare for the overwhelming response. And I was like, okay, I know what we're doing. Nobody in my market will pay those prices. And the response is going to be 0 because it's outlandish. Okay? So I was told to sell an offer that I had come up with for $499 for a short period of time. Okay? I think it was like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Okay? And I was like, there's no way. I mean, people are just not going to pay that amount of money for, a 6 to 8 week program. So I played it safe, and I priced that product, that offer, at $299. Now, when I did that, I was completely astonished when, within a 2-week period, I had literally sold over 20 plus of that offer. 20 plus of that offer, okay? And I knew that going into the end of the month now, that I wasn't going to be holding the bag for the money that I had spent coming on for that first payment. Suffice it to say that in a 2-week period, I had already made what I had made the previous month. That's right. In a 2-week period, I already made what I made the previous month, okay? Now, this continued on because we were doing a 30-day rollout of this program, so I was selling for 30 days for 1 month. So over the next 2 weeks, I sold another 15 to 20. Okay, so 35 to 40 of this offer I sold within a 30-day period, right? I was beside myself, and I was like, wow, where were these people at? Where have they been my entire life? Okay, well, we brought them in, we ran them through, and we ended up retaining 50% of that clientele, and they moved into other offers. Mind blowing, right? So now I'm being told that if you do this again, then you should up your price. Go to that $499, $599. Your background and experience is worth charging that for your program. I didn't want to believe it. I still had an ounce of skepticism to me, so I did bump it up to $399. And I sold more than the previous 30 days. No shit. And then when I went to $499, which is where I left it from that point forward, I sold more than the $399. And it is literally how I brought my business back from the brink to being profitable and also breaking glass ceilings that I would have never thought I was going to break within my business. Now, how does this work? Well, it all falls underneath something really simple, and it's called client finance acquisition. And this is just my story using this model. It's not my model at all. I learned it from a mentor, but I think it could be useful to anybody who is wanting to do the same thing I did, or if you're starting up your business, there's a way that you can go about doing it and having your acquisition financed. Now, I will say this: any clients that I have ever worked with, I always tell them to create their leads and prospect for their leads organically first, especially if they don't have the capital or the resources available to afford a budget for paid advertisement. It's responsible, right? Because the last thing you want to do is go spend a bunch of money on, paid advertisement, and you know nothing about it, and then you're just left, holding the bag because you didn't go about it properly, and you spent a bunch of money, and you have nothing to show for it, right? So organic acquisition definitely has a place when you're first starting. This is something that you can definitely do once you have some revenue coming in and there's a little bit of money. However, I have seen a lot of startup companies bankroll their businesses by doing this same model and pre-selling to open up. No lie, straight up, okay? So with all that being said and sharing a little brief history of what I went through using this, I only wanted to put my story out there to edify what I'm about to show you, okay? So client financed acquisition, my story using this model. So here it is here, and let me just make myself a little bit smaller so that you guys can see this. And here it is in all of its simplistic glory, okay? So we have a 5-day period here. And let's say that we're spending $100 a day on ad spend, okay? So we're going to start off with day one. Day one, you spend $100 in ads, okay? You get 10 leads, and out of those 10, let's say that you get 5, 6, 7 show for those appointments, okay? 4, 5, 6, or 7 show for those appointments. And let's say you're only selling 20% of those, right? So you get 2 sales out of those that show, right? And let's say that your price point for your product is $600. Well, that's $1,200 in revenue, right? Now, you're not going to have anything deposited into your account because payment processors take anywhere between 24, 48, 72 hours, depending on who you're using for your money to actually hit the bank, right? So, now you're at minus 100. Let's just say your bank account's at 0. So now you're minus $100. Day 2, $100 goes in. You get 10 more leads. You get a certain percentage of those actually show up for the appointments. Again, you sell 20%. You get 2 people. $600 is your price point. That's another $1,200. Let's say you repeat this through day 3. Well, as you can see here, just on this graph, you're already $300 in the hole, right? But look what happens by day 4. This is when all of your money that you've already accumulated from your sales begins to hit the bank, right? So basically what you have here is by day 4, you now have $2,400 that is deposited into your account, okay? So basically what your bank account is going to show is $2,000, okay? Because you've already spent $300 up to that point, plus the $100 that you spent on day 4, so now you're down to $2,000. So you've made $2,000 off of $400 in ad spend, okay? And then by day 5, if this is repeated, then now you're looking at deposits of $3,600 less your ad spend of $500. So now your bank account is showing $3,100, okay? So it's very simplistic in nature if you really look at this. I mean, if it cost you $100 to make $1,200, that is a 12 to 1 return all by itself. And as you can see, with all things being equal, at the end of day 5, you are now positive in your bank account, in this example, by $3,100. Okay? Now, you will notice that the money that was spent was literally from your clients. They actually have paid you for their own acquisition. Okay? Now, I know this is very simplistic, and I know this may not make a whole lot of sense to you right off of the face. But if this is something that you would love to learn more about, if this is something that you would want to talk about more in depth, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. But this right here is very similar to the exact layout and structure that I used to literally take my business from making about $6,000 a month to an average of 35 to 45K monthly. An average between 35 to 45K monthly, depending on if I was running specials or if I decided not to run a special, depending on if my business was full and I could not take anybody, or maybe my attrition was a little high a month over another month. There are many factors come into play here. But as you can see, this all goes back to your clients can actually finance their own acquisition. Okay? So again, if you want to have any conversations about, how you too could implement this in your business, I'd be happy to have that conversation. All you have to do is reach out to me. All my information is below in the description. Or you can send me either a direct message on Facebook, or you can send me a message on Alignable. It's two main places that I typically can be found. But yeah, here it is in all of its simplistic glory, guys. Client financed acquisition. Thanks for hanging out. Coach Shane's out.